This evening, Tom Davenport is being taught Russian by Professor Sidorov's attractive daughter, Katya Sidorova. Tom reckons this is...
Очень хорошо. Very good.
Здравствуйте, Tom.
What's that, Katya? I didn't quite understand.
Здравствуйте is the normal Russian way of greeting someone. The equivalent of good evening or how do you do.
It sounds rather like someone trying to sneeze through a mouthful of porridge.
Well, I'll say it again more slowly. Здравствуйте. Здравствуйте.
Здравствуйте.
Здравствуйте, Tom.
Здравствуйте, Katya.
And another point is that Russians usually say not здравствуйте, but simply здрасте.
Ah, that's a bit easier to say. Zdrastie.
Yes. Now I'm going to teach you how to ask where something is and also how to answer such questions.
The word for where is где, isn't it?
Yes, где.
So if I want to say, where is the telephone, I only have to say, where telephone? Где телефон?
Да, очень хорошо. Where is the telephone is где телефон. Literally, where telephone. Now the Russian for table is stol. Translate, where is the table?
Где стол?
Now suppose I want to say the telephone is on the table. The Russian for on is na.
Na. Na.
Yes?
And table is stol. So the telephone is on the table is telefon na stol.
No. It's not quite so easy, Tom. This is where the trouble starts. After the preposition na, meaning on, nouns have to be put in what's called the prepositional case.
Oh. Well, how do I form that?
Just add ye to the noun.
So, on the table is na stol je.
На столе.
Ah.
Say, where is the telephone?
Где телефон?
The telephone is on the table.
Телефон на столе.
Now let's bring in another new word. Divan, meaning sofa.
Диван.
On the sofa?
На диване.
Is the telephone on the sofa?
Телефон на диване?
No, the telephone is not on the sofa.
Нет. Телефон не на диване.
Good. No, the telephone is not on the sofa, but on the table.
Нет. Телефон не на диване, а на столе.
Yes.
Now, I have a question for you about stress. When you say на столе, on the table, you stress the last syllable, that is the ye. На столе.
That's right. На столе.
But when you say on the sofa, you don't do that. You say на диване. In other words, the stress stays on the syllable van.
Yes. На диване.
Is there any rule for telling where the stress falls in such cases?
Well, most nouns behave like divan. That is, their stress stays put. As for the others, the rules, such as they are too complicated to deal with at this stage, and you'll just have to learn each word as it comes up.
Right. And another point is this. We've just learned that the Russian for on is na. But in the phrase on the table and on the divan, you don't seem to pronounce it as na, but as n.
Yes. Na is a preposition, and prepositions usually aren't stressed, but are pronounced as part of the following word. Hence, na is reduced to n, just as the sound do at the beginning of Dostoevsky is reduced to d. На столе is pronounced на столе.
And similarly, na divanie.
Yes. Now, another new word for tonight is the word a room. Komnata. Pronounce komnata.
Komnata.
Yes. And the preposition in is v.
V.
A word consisting of only one consonant, ve, so that you can't really pronounce it on its own.
Does v, meaning in, take the prepositional case, like na, meaning on?
Yes, it does.
So, in the room must be v komnata ye?
No,
No.
it isn't. To form the prepositional case of a noun which in the nominative singular ends in a vowel, first drop this final vowel and then substitute ye. Thus, from komnata, room, ending in a vowel a, we form the prepositional komnate. In the room, then, is v komnate.
Whereas with a noun like stol, which ends in a consonant, we just add the ye onto it.
Exactly. Stol, table. На столе, on the table. Divan, sofa. На диване, on the sofa. But комната, room. В комнате, in the room. What's that? Что это?
That is a telephone. Это телефон.
Да, очень хорошо. Where is the telephone? Где телефон?
The telephone is on the table. Телефон на столе.
Is the telephone on the sofa? Телефон на диване?
No, the telephone is not on the sofa. Нет. Телефон не на диване. The telephone is on the table. Телефон на столе.
But where is the table? А где стол?
The table is in the room. Стол в комнате.
But where is the room? А где комната?
Комната... what's a house?
A house is дом.
Then in the house is в доме.
Yes? Say, the room is in the house.
Комната в доме. The room is in the house. About a quarter of an hour has passed, and meanwhile, Professor Sidorov has taken over my lesson. He has just put a bottle and a glass on a table.
Что это?
Это водка.
Да, это водка. Где водка?
Водка на столе.
Где водка?
Водка не на столе.
Нет, водка в профессоре Сидорове. The vodka is in Professor Sidorov.
Well, I think he might have given me some.
We shall now make our first acquaintance with a verb in the present tense. Now, as you know, the present tense has 6 forms in all.
Yes, I know. There are the first, second, and third persons, singular and plural.
That's right. Now, shall we first make sure we know the personal pronouns that go with the singular forms? I is я. You, in the familiar form, is ты.
Yes.
And do you remember the word for he?
Yes. He is on.
Yes. Those give us the 3 forms of the singular. Я, ты, он. I, you, familiar, he.
Я, ты, on. I, you familiar, he. May I ask you about this word, ты? How is it used?
Ты, the familiar form of you, is used among close friends, members of the same family, and to children and animals.
Not to professors, then.
Certainly not. Don't let me catch you calling me ты, young man.
Ты is like the French tu. is it not?
More or less. Now for the singular conjugation of go-vo-rich, to speak or to say. Pronounce говорить. Let's see if you've learned it. Translate I speak.
Я говорю.
You, familiar, speak.
Ты говоришь.
He speaks.
Он говорит.
Yes. The conjugation of the singular is я говорю, ты говоришь, он говорит, which are the first, second, and third persons respectively. Я говорю, ты говоришь, он говорит. Now translate who is speaking.
Кто говорит?
What am I saying?
Что я говорю?
What is the professor saying?
Что профессор говорит?
Yes. The student does not speak.
Студент не говорит. Now, how about the word for she? Isn't that third person singular as well as he?
Yes. She speaks is она говорит.
Она говорит. So she is она.
Right. Она. Pronounce она. Good. Now for the forms of the plural. Let's see if you know the pronouns first. What is we?
We is мы.
And you in the plural?
You is вы. We is also the polite form of you when one person is addressed.
And finally, they.
They is они.
Yes. They is они. Pronounce они. Мы, вы, они, we, you, they, give the three persons of the plural. Now translate, we speak.
Мы говорим.
You speak.
Вы говорите.
They speak.
Они говорят.
The conjugation of the plural is мы говорим, вы говорите, они говорят.
This is much more complicated than an English present tense.
Yes, but remember that Russian has only one present tense, whereas in English there are three. Мы говорим means we speak, we are speaking, and we do speak.
As well as we say, we are saying, and we do say.
Exactly. Now translate, what do they say?
Что они говорят?
You are not speaking.
Вы не говорите.
What are we saying?
Что мы говорим?
The professor and the student are speaking.
Профессор и студент говорят.
Yes. Now let's learn a few adverbs. The phrase to speak Russian involves using the adverb по-русски, meaning in Russian. Pronounce по-русски.
So I speak Russian is я говорю по-русски.
Yes. Я говорю по-русски. Translate. Does she speak Russian?
Она говорит по-русски?
No, she doesn't speak Russian.
Нет, она не говорит по-русски.
Now, what do you think this means? Она говорит по-английски.
She speaks English? По-английски means in English.
Yes. По-английски. Pronounce по-английски. Say, they speak English well.
Они говорят по-английски.
Well is хорошо. Pronounce хорошо.
Oh, of course, I've heard you use that word before.
You should remember that очень хорошо means very good and very well. Now say, they speak English very well.
Они говорят по-английски очень хорошо.
We do not speak Russian very well.
Мы не говорим По-русски очень хорошо.
Now for a new use of the word что, the word we've so far learned as meaning what.
As in, что вы говорите? What do you say?
Yes. Now, что also means that, in such phrases as to say that or to know that. To say that is говорит что. Translate, he says that he is a student.
Он говорит, что он студент.
I say that I am not a professor.
Я говорю, что я не профессор.
They say that they speak Russian.
Они говорят, что они говорят по-русски.
Очень хорошо. Very good. Они говорят, что они говорят по-русски. We say that the telephone is on the table.
Мы говорим, что телефон на столе.
I say that the table is in the room.
Я говорю, что стол в комнате.
I say that the telephone is not on the sofa.
Я говорю, что телефон не на диване.
What is that?
Что это? Это телефон.
Да, это телефон. And that telephone gives us a chance to introduce another verb, which goes exactly like говорить. The verb means to ring and is звонить, pronounce звонить. Translate, what is ringing?
Что звонит?
The telephone is ringing.
Телефон звонит.
Who is ringing?
Кто звонит?
The professor and the student are ringing.
Профессор и студент звонят. Now, can we deal with the point of pronunciation, please, Professor?
Oh, certainly.
These infinitives, говорит, to speak and to say, and звонит, to ring, both end in the soft sign.
Yes, nearly all Russian infinitives do end in te, followed by the soft sign.
Well, what I want to know is, how is the soft sign pronounced?
The soft sign itself is not pronounced at all. It serves only to tell us that the consonant which precedes it is pronounced soft.
Like the te in говорит, to say or to speak.
Yes, the te in говорить is soft.
But what about the te at the end of он говорит? He speaks.
That te is hard. Говорит.
How do we know?
Well, consonants which end a word are pronounced hard. To recapitulate, to speak is говорить, ending in a soft te. Те, те, те. But he speaks is он говорит, ending in a hard te. T, t, t.
Soft, говорит, hard, он говорит.
Yes, soft, говорить, hard, он говорит. Soft, ч, 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 hard, t, t, t. Now, say after me, звонить, говорить.
Звонит, говорит. It sounds almost as if the te was lisped, or as if there was an S after it.
Almost, but not quite. The sound is ch, ch, ch.
And the infinitive is the form you find verbs under in a dictionary or a vocabulary.
Yes.
How is it used in sentences?
Well, for example, we use it after such words as надо. It is necessary. Pronounce надо.
Надо.
Say it is necessary to speak Russian.
Надо говорить по-русски.
It is necessary to speak Russian well.
Надо говорить по-русски хорошо.
It is necessary to speak Russian very well.
Надо говорить по-русски очень хорошо.
Yes. Well, make sure you study lesson 3 in the pamphlet Russian for Beginners before next week. And don't forget, надо говорить по-русски очень хорошо.